Well, we're going to a part 2 because I accidentally stopped the last video instead of pausing it. But like I said, this table has built-in stand. So I'm going to turn it over to the side like so. And you see there's a button you mash. And you pull your legs out like so. Raise it up. Do the same here. Mash the button. Mash the button. Rotate it like so. Now, see, we got an uneven floor here because I throw this building together cheaply. So down on the base of it, I'm not sure if I've, yeah, we can see it from here, but I'm going to try to zoom in. Down here on the bottom, you see this foot right here. I'm going to see if I can show you this. It does have an adjustable leg. You flip this little switch right here. Well, no, let me make a fool of myself. There's a lever you're supposed to flip that unlocks it. There it is. And then you rotate to screw the leg outward for a little bit better adjustment on the floor. Doesn't help if your floor is that far off. Alright. That should be locked in pretty good right there. Alright, I'm going to zoom back out here. And we'll go forward from this point. Okay, it does come with a place to put the push stick right in the front. Locks right in there like so. This is, you know, you got your material and you want to push it to avoid the material kicking back between the fence and the blade. So I'm going to move this back out here. This is adjustable so it meets up with the top of the surface, so you can, when you're out here and you got a piece of wider material and you want something to support it on this end from the table to the fence, you have a place to support it. And if you don't need it at all, then you can rotate it up, flip it over here. Now the cool thing about this is it does have a T-track on top. So if you want to mount something on here on this T-track that has some kind of stop on it, or with the width of this, you can actually build a sled that will slide across the top of this. Now, this cheap plastic miter gauge that they send with it is, I'm not even going to use it. So I went to Harbor Freight and I picked up this one by Bauer. Has a stop on it, and the tracks are adjustable. So you put this in your miter slot, loosen this right here, and your fence on this one is extendable to that point. Don't want to go too far. Catch my drift. Got an extendable fence on there. So you can lock it down. Don't know how accurate it's going to be because it looks loose right there, so I may have to work on that portion of it, but it does have a stop that you can set on a T-track that runs across the top of this, but this you just pull out on this part and you can adjust the angle and slide it in your miter. Just like that. sliding, slipping and sliding. So, try to get this back in there. So I guess you can adjust that and put your stop back in the slot right there. And I've probably got my big head in the way, so you can't really see what's going on. So, anywho, all this has got a little carriage bolt, so you got to get the head of the carriage bolt into the slot behind it. Adjust it outward enough so that you can open it up. And put it over top of the bars, and then you lock it down. Now it's steady. And like I said, it's got an adjustable stop on it. You can loosen this. You can move this stop if you need to put it over here, or come out of that T-track and come over to here to this T-track. There you go. That line up in there. Set that stopper right here. Loosen this and bring this back in if I need to. Lock it in place. Now to move the miter gauge, pull out on that, loosen that nut right there, and then you should be able to rotate. There we go. And set it at whatever degree or angle you need. I got 60 degrees on each side, so I'm going to back to 0. It does have positive stops on it. It has a few closer positive stops in the middle there. Alright, enough of that. So get back to the saw, mash the button down, pull the throat plate out. I'm going to bring the blade back up. Okay, it's all the way at the top. Now let's see where our zoom is on this thing. I'm going to bring this in a little bit closer. Maybe I should set it where I can see the inside of the... Sorry about the shaky camera. Okay. Now there's a good shot. I am going to grab a headlamp. I would light up the inside of this a little bit while I'm recording. So you have this little lever right here that you pop up for your driving knife. Now, when it goes in there, and you get it locked in place. I'm doing it right. Okay. Your throat plate will not lock down in there because this piece has to be locked down out of the way. And then your throat plate will be back in place. But I do like that they upgraded to the metal. Now, we also have this here blade part. So I can figure this one out real quick too. It looks like it may maybe because this has its own riving knife built onto it, maybe this one comes off. Put this one in place. It does have a little pin in there that it catches into once you stick it down into place. And you got your positive stop, or your lock in place. I may have made a mistake here. I don't know. No, it does. It's open on the end, so it will go around the blade like so. And you mash your little tab. And this is your blade guards. That's going to keep your hands off the blade while you're cutting. Now, a lot of people will cut without this on there. Now, the back of it has the kickback paws. So this has attached to the back side. And I would assume these notches on the upper end of it is where this is going to connect. And you know what? I didn't even look at the paperwork to see exactly how the kickback paw mounts to this. So I may have to do a little research first before I go making a fool of myself. But at the moment, it is not lining up with the notch on the top of this riving knife. So I'm going to pause it for a minute while I take a look at this. Alright, I've got the kickback paws attached. It was just something simple. They just drop down on a slot like so. And blade guard is in place. So it looks like she is ready to be adjusted. Now I'm gonna have to get a square, framing square, to adjust the blade out to the blade here, and I'll adjust the distance on it. So before I make those adjustments, I'm gonna pull this brake plate out of here, pull this lever down here, and I'm gonna remove the riving knife and blade guard until the blade actually gets adjusted properly. Because at the moment, it is not sitting where it's supposed to be up. Let's remember, that's got to be down. Okay, so pause you for a minute. Alright, I'm going to work on my adjustment between the miter gauge and the blade. So I'm going to put this here headlamp on so I can see the knob underneath as I adjust it. The wing nut should still be loose from earlier, which it is. What I'm going to do, move my fence back out of the way. And I'm going to set this against the miter track. I'm going to push this over to the blade. As close as I can get it, right there where she's touching. Tighten this down. Now as I come across here, if there's any adjustment needed on the blade, right there, I'm leaving a gap, and down here I'm touching, it's starting to scar it. So what I need is bring this adjustment back in. The goal is for it to rub all the way down. So I need to adjust this in just a little bit. Make sure I'm square. first turn this adjustment knob and see if I got the same size gap all the way down. Alright, it gets bigger right there. Adjust this in. Make sure that I've got the same distance. I'll put a little bit of a pulley in here. I think it's this knob is catching on here, so I'll make sure that I am accurate. This screw has got to be set. Okay, I'm in the miter gauge. As I come down across, it's in about a 32nd, taking that just a hair. I believe I've got it dialed in how close as it's going to get from one side to the other. Tighten that little window belt down there so that that blade does not move. Okay. Without having professional tools to adjust that, that was about the best I could do. Now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to lower us down. We're going to go over here to the blade adjustment. Let's see if I can. Sorry if any background noise. Got a neighbor out there with a leaf blower. Alrighty. Now, okay, I'm going to get this thing right here and move it over here just so you can see that little button on the bottom that I was talking about. Okay, so when you're tilting your blade, you loosen this knob and set your miter angle. Now it's got a positive stop at 0, but if you need to go beyond 0, you'll see right here where my thumb is, there's a little button down there, a little knob. You mash that in and it allows you to go to a -2. I guess you have to lock it in place to get it to stay at -2. Okay, so I'm gonna loosen that. Also, on the opposite side, you got your 45 right there, and you see it goes to 47, and it's the same thing. When you tilt your blade, mash that button in, and then you have to lock it down. You can lock it in at 47. When you release it, it's actually a positive stop at 45 and a positive stop at 0. So I'm gonna leave it set at 0. I'm gonna leave that locked in, and I'm gonna adjust this here fence. And this is your fence adjustment. Now, as you see on the fence adjustment, that screw right there, if for any reason your indicator is off, then you can turn that little screw there and make a fine adjustment on that needle. earlier I had it set at, let me see, set it at 9 inches. And when you get your measuring device out and you measure from the blade over 9 inches, if you're off, then you can adjust that little screw right there just to set the indicator where it needs to be. So, and I believe this one does have a storage area to take your fence and mount it underneath. I believe that's for your blade guard mounts on that part. It does have cord storage right here. So you can wind your cable up when it's not being used. And it does have these right here on it, which that might be a part of where your fence goes when you're not using it. But I think it's also part of when you stand it up on edge. It's like a rubber stop for it to set on, because you have the same rubber grips here at the top. And this is part of a carrying handle here. And over here on this side, it's got the red grip on it, so you grip it on both sides to pick it up as you're carrying it. But that in itself is the Skil 10-inch table saw. And I believe this thing is 25 inches by 24 inches in measurement. So get over here to where my tape measure is. We'll check that out real quick. We got 22 and a quarter, it appears. And on this end, we got from there to here, we have 24. So 22 by 24 roughly. Now, if you unlock your fence and put it on the last stop here, lock it down, and you can adjust this fence all the way out, and it gives you from the blade looks to be 25.5 inches. Now, like I said, if you got a large piece of plywood across here and you need something to hold this in so it doesn't drop down in there, then you raise this little guard up, drop it over here on the bottom setting, and then you got a little shelf that your material will ride on. And if you need to get up closer to your blade, raise it up one notch. Of course, to get closer to the blade, you would actually have to, you can get that close with the fence in that position, but if you unlock your fence, move it to the second notch in, lock it down, then you can adjust your knob and you can run your fence right up close to the edge of the blade. Now you do have a slot over on the opposite side here. I would assume you can rotate your fence 180 degrees and put your fence on this side if you need to, because it is notch for such a setup, which makes it adjustable that way. But most people use the fence on the other side. Okay, Skil 10-inch table saw. I'll be putting this thing to use quite a bit.